Now, Australia's move to ban social media for under-16s comes into effect this week, aimed at protecting young people from online dangers. The decision had mixed reviews across the Tasman. The ban has raised questions about how it will operate, whether it will actually work, and if New Zealand should follow suit. Before 16 is an organisation campaigning to see a similar policy here, and joining me now is co-chair Celia Robinson. Good morning to you, Celia. It's going to be really interesting to see how this actually works coming into effect. What are you going to be watching in particular?
Yeah, well, I think the key thing that we're really looking for is social norming. And so I think when we're talking about introducing a minimum age for young people on social media, what we're really saying is we need to create new social norms and not set an expectation that young people should be able to access unlimited social media from an early age, right? That's what we're trying to prevent here. And look, nothing is perfect, and we're not asking for perfection. And I think that's really important to understand. What we're asking for is progress, and Australia is really leading the way on this and making a huge stand around what is possible, and we'll be watching and seeing the success that they'll have, no doubt.
Does it surprise you that we're already seeing downloads of social media sites that are not on the banned list already rise?
Well, look, I think it's interesting to see, right? And I think ultimately it is about socially norming for young people, and I think that a lot of people will want to comply, and while we will see a generation of young people who will go through the change of having access to not having access, the next young people coming through will just be normalised into the fact that they never did, right? And so it's just a change, just like when, young people stopped accessing alcohol unlimited or tobacco.
Or smoking in bars, right? Used to be so normal.
And look, you just go through a period of social change. And so, yes, there'll be, some initial teething issues that I fully expect. But look, this will normalise and we'll come through this. And the reality of it is that is what we're looking for, social norming for young people around us.
If that's the case, are you thinking that we should just hurry up and do it, not sit back and wait and see how this experiment goes in Australia? Just get to it.
Yeah, look, and I think we've heard the Prime Minister loud and clear a few weeks ago saying that they are committed to driving this change that will happen within the next year. And I think the quote was something like, we'll do it or we'll die trying type thing, and that's fantastic. And so we absolutely need to lead in this space. New Zealand has already shown leadership in the space through the work that we've done to limit phones in schools and ban phones in schools. And that's been an incredibly successful process that we've undertaken, which the world is now watching. And we should be leading in the space too, no doubt.
What do you make of what the online platforms actually have to do to check ID? Because I read a story just this morning that a young girl just held up her mum's driver's licence or something, and that was enough to get around the ban. Are we going to have to be policing them and how well they're policing it?
Well, look, it's going to be interesting to see, because there are consequences for them if they're not doing their job, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be looking for, is a consequence for the tech companies. And so I think ultimately we'll have a period where we'll see how we go through these changes. No doubt some people try to get around it, but actually the vast majority will comply. And actually what we can't forget here is that many young people want to comply. In fact, this is a problem. You're seeing, I think it was something like 4 out of 10 young people in a recent study were saying that they don't want access to social media. And, it's really important to understand that actually young people are asking for this change as well. And again, it's the people that have never been on social media that will benefit most in the long term, and we just have to make a stand now.
Would you expect to see any improvement in time in the stats around teen mental health, or is that too crude a measure to associate specifically?
No, look, that was my original interest area coming into this. I was really concerned about the deterioration that we've seen in young people's mental health over the last 10, 12 years. And I certainly believe that those two things are linked. And I think what we're already seeing from removing phones from schools is that mental health is improving. Cyberbullying is reducing. Academic performance in schools is improving. And so if we can start looking at these metrics and saying, these things are actually linked, and they will make a big difference to our country long term.
What would you say to other parents who are getting pressured right now for a smartphone for their kids for Christmas? Because obviously in New Zealand, under 16-year-olds, there is no ban yet.
Yeah.
And so they could well be diving into the social media space.
Well, look, this is a Christmas where you can change that narrative, because you can tell your children with certainty that this is going to change. And so if they want a smartphone, I think, you need to really understand the consequence of that, both as a parent and a child. And I think the key thing here is to delay play as long as you possibly can, right? If possible, you can give them a dumb phone. You know, we got our son originally like the Nokia, whatever it was, 3210, and it was great.
Are they still supported?
They genuinely are. They're still a thing, you know, and they're making a bit of a comeback. And so I think if you want to be able to communicate with your child, I think that's reasonable. And I think there are instances where you do need to communicate with them. You know, send them a text message or give them a call if they're at practice or whatever. But do they need, you know, full unfettered access to the internet and all that comes with that? I think absolutely not, until their brain is better developed, right? And that's what we're really asking for, is give our kids' brains a chance to really develop healthy.
Yeah, it's going to be so interesting to see how this goes and bring it on in New Zealand, if you ask me. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
You.
Celia Robinson from the lobby group Before 16.